Chapter 71. Breakthrough. The peak of the seventh stage of nascent soul. The Void Sword Domain. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 71. Breakthrough. The peak of the seventh stage of nascent soul. The Void Sword Domain. Xian Yi did not continue to search for monstrous beasts. More than 21 million Azure origin points were already guaranteed to be number one. Not long after, a powerful pulling force sent Xian Yi out of the tiny world. The first round of the Azure region grand competition was over. When Xian Yi appeared in the Azure realm, countless contestants were sent out one after another. Most of them had worried expressions on their faces. Because the results hadn't been announced, no one knew if they had advanced. Of course, this did not include Xian Yi. He had over 20 million Azure origin points. Not to mention his advancement, even the number one spot was not out of his grasp. The number two spot was probably his number one spot. What a pity, I didn't meet him. Not far away, Gu Hong was also teleported out. He wasn't worried about his results in the first round. The only thing he was unhappy about was that he was not able to meet Xian Yi in the tiny world. He wasn't able to eliminate him, so he probably wanted to make this guy advance. Although he looked down on him, he was still a prodigy on the Azure ranking. Even though he was ranked at the bottom, it was not realistic to say that he could not advance to the second round without being disturbed by external forces. Dong! A huge screen appeared in the air. On top of it, the names and rankings of everyone from the top 10,000 were recorded. I've advanced. Haha. I've advanced. Damn it. Almost. If there were another one at that time, I would have been able to advance even if there only one true essence realm monstrous beast. After ranking, some people were happy and others were worried. Those who were happy were undoubtedly ranked on the rankings and had already advanced. On the other hand, those who were only a few points away from entering the rankings were undoubtedly more uncomfortable than anyone else. Other than Yi and Ener, the others didn't advance. Looking at the 10,000 people rankings, Xian Yi quickly saw Guiyi's name. She didn't disappoint him. Even though she wasn't high on the rankings, she still advanced to 9,322nd. As long as he advanced, his mission would be completed. Ding! Congratulations, host, for completing a side mission and obtaining a reward. Upgrade the host to 2 realms and comprehend the Void Sword region. Sure enough, not long after the rankings came out, Xian Yi's long-awaited system notification finally rang. The spirit energy within his body surged. In the next moment, Xian Yi's realm had already advanced from the peak of the 5th level of the nascent soul realm to the peak of the 7th level of the nascent soul realm. He had officially stepped into the late stage of nascent soul realm. Not only that, but Xian Yi had also comprehended a domain that even King Realm experts rarely understood. His heart was burning. The previously Xian Yi was strong enough to fight against the peak 9th level of the nascent soul realm. Not only had he advanced to the late stage of the nascent soul realm from the middle stage of the nascent soul realm, but the most important thing was also that he had comprehended the Void Sword domain. The greatest improvement in his strength was not the increase of levels, but his comprehension of the Void Sword domain. This was a domain something that was rarely understood by any King Realm expert. Not to mention anything else, none of the King Realm experts in the Azure region had a domain. Wang Jing is not out of reach. Who said that someone of the nascent soul realm could not defeat a King Realm expert? This rule will be broken by me. Just as Xian Yi was excited, he heard a loud noise. It turned out that it was the showing of the top 10 of the first round. It was about to be announced. The previous rankings only listed 11th to 10,000th places. As for the top 10, they were not revealed. And now, from the 10th place, the top 10. It would be announced one after another. Everyone was staring at the screen in the air. There, the name of the 10th ranked person was slowly appearing. Huang Fujin. The 10th place of the first round. Huangfu Jin Azure Origin Points. 1,570,312, Huangfu Jin of the Huangfu family. He's ranked in the top 10 in the first round. The Huangfu family was one of the top 10 giants of the Azure region. Outside the Azure realm, the head of the Huangfu family frowned when he saw this result. He was not very satisfied with this result. In the top 10 of the first round, this was already a very good result for others. But to Huangfu Jin, this result was not particularly outstanding. He was ranked 5th on the Azure rankings, but he was only ranked 10th in the top 10 of the first round. After the 10th, the 9th place slowly appeared. Kong Ju. The 9th place of the first round. Azure Origin Points. 1,773,350 Hua His. This Kong Ju is probably going to be the dark horse of this year's Azure Region Grand Competition. Kong Ju wasn't from one of the top 10 powerhouses of the Azure region. He wasn't even from a major sect. He only had a master, Elder Kong Shan, and an existence at the peak of the 9th level of the nascent soul realm. Old man Kong Shan, congratulations. Your disciple is not bad. I didn't expect you, an old man, to have such a hand in teaching disciples. In Qinghuang City, old man Kong Shan was filled with pride when he heard the praise from the people around him. His heart was filled with joy. After 9th, it was 8th. The 8th place of the first round. Qing Yuan. The people from the Azure Wind sect did not look good. Qing Yuan, who was 6th on the Azure rankings, was only 8th. The people of the Blue Wind sect were also not very satisfied with this result. The 7th place of the first round, Xuanningshuang. 1,997,211 6th, Mingyue Shu. 2,123,141 5th, Duan Changkong. 2,155,713. 4th, Shenqing Feng. 2,193,309, sister. As the top 3 were about to be revealed, Mu Qingqing found her sister, Mu Chulian, in the Azure realm. At this moment, Mu Qingqing was very excited. Because her name had appeared in the top 10,000. This meant that she had advanced to the second round. She would be rewarded for the first round. It was said that the reward was something that even nascent soul experts would be tempted by. Qingqing. At this moment, Mu Chulian's mood did not seem very good. It was because she didn't advance. This was also expected, but after learning that she had been eliminated in the first round, Mu Chulian felt a little uncomfortable. The person ranked 10,000th in the first round had 11,000 Azure Origin points. And she only had 5,561 points. The gap was too big. Sister, let me tell you some good news. I have advanced. Haha. Chapter 72. It was not 2 million, but 10 millions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 72. It was not 2 million, but 10 millions. However, her words caused Mu Chulian to be slightly stunned. She wondered if she had heard wrong. Qingqing said. She had advanced. Mu Chulian's first reaction was to think that it was impossible. How could this be possible? Mu Qingqing was her younger sister. She knew exactly what kind of talent and strength she possessed. How could she advance with her cultivation of the second level of the Qi Foundation realm? What a joke. Even a soul condensation realm cultivator couldn't rank in the top 10,000, yet Qingqing ranked in the top 10,000. How was that possible? Mu Chulian's expression was a little ugly. Her voice was a little stern. Qingqing, how did you learn to lie now? Who lied to you? If you don't believe me, look. 9,570, it's me. Mu Qingqing knew that her elder sister might not believe him. She pointed at the 9,570th place and said in a somewhat unconvinced manner. It was understandable, why didn't my sister believe it? Mu Chu Lien looked in the direction Mu Qingqing pointed at. Sure enough, Mu Qingqing's name appeared above the 9,570th place. Mu Chu Lien opened her mouth slightly, her heart filled with question marks. How was this possible? Mu Qingqing, her younger sister, had advanced to the second round. Moreover, it was not the same name. The Mu clan behind the name was the best proof. Qingqing, you. How did you do it? Mu Chu Lien found it hard to accept. She hadn't been able to advance, and it was even to the extent that she was extremely far from the point of advancing. On the other hand, her younger sister, who had talent and strength that was far inferior to hers, had actually advanced to the second round. What a joke. Hee hee. Of course, I didn't rely on myself. I met an acquaintance in the tiny world. I helped him, and he helped me advance. Who? You'll soon know. He'll be in first place this round. Mu Qingqing said. Mu Chu Lien raised her head to look at the top 3 positions that had yet to be announced and frowned. The top 3 have yet to be announced. How do you know he is number 1? Of course I know. It must be him, Mu Qingqing said. More than 20 million Azure origin points, Mu Qingqing didn't believe that there would be someone higher than them. The second place probably had less than a quarter of that amount. Outside of the Azure realm. The Mu family's location. Elder Du, although Elder Du was a member of the Mu clan, he was not surnamed Mu. Regardless, he was still an elder of the Mu clan. What's the matter? I seem to have seen the second young miss name on the promotion list. Elder Du was slightly taken aback by this Mu clan disciple's words. This joke isn't funny. Elder Du only thought he was joking. Mu Qingqing was on the promotion list. How is that possible? He could not see that happening with Mu Qingqing's strength. The second level of the Qi Foundation realm, the possibility of her advancing was practically zero. Participation in this first round was merely an opportunity to join in. Not to mention Mu Qingqing, even the young miss of the Mu clan, Mu Chu Lien's chances of advancing was practically zero. Elder Du, I'm not joking. If you don't believe me, look. Look at the 9,570th position. Elder Du raised his head to look, his eyes quickly widened. At the 9,570th place, he actually saw Mu Qingqing's name. How is that possible? In his heart, he shouted. At this moment, while Elder Mu was shocked, he was also a bit ecstatic. The first round of rewards. Elder Du's heart trembled. He wished he could immediately return to the Purple Orchid Kingdom and inform the Patriarch of this matter. However, he was extremely puzzled in his heart. How did Mu Qingqing advance? However, since the list showed that she had advanced, she would advance. The list couldn't be fake. As for how she had advanced, he would ask Qingqing once she came out. Ha ha ha, Elder Du couldn't help but laugh. Who would have thought that the people of my Mu clan would be ranked within the top 10,000 of the Azure Domain Grand Competition one day? What a great honor. This is something that no one has done since the founding of the Purple Orchid Kingdom. Within the Azure realm, the top 3 places were about to be revealed. Everyone held their breaths. Mu Chu Lien was the same. She was extremely curious. Who exactly was the person that had given Mu Qingqing such confidence and helped her advance to the second round? And he was an acquaintance. Mu Chu Lien thought about it for a long time, but she couldn't figure out which acquaintance he was. In her opinion, none of her acquaintances were able to do this. None. Third place. Luo Qianqiu. 2,923,000 points. Luo Qianqiu, he's actually third. Many people were dumbfounded. Luo Qianqiu was the number 2 genius on the Azure ranking, second only to Jian Chen. In the previous year's Azure Domain Grand Competition, he was ranked second in the first round. Now he was third. After Luo Qianxiu, the second place was revealed. Second place. Jian Chen. 3,520,710 points. Jian Chen. Second place. This, countless people were dumbfounded. The sword sex, Jian Chen, only second place. Jian Chen was number 1 on the Azure ranking. He was known as the most monstrous genius of the Haotian sword sect in over 1,000 years. 3,520,710 points. He had collected over 3.5 million Azure origin points. His points had not decreased compared to the previous year. Instead, they had increased. But even so, he was ranked second. At this moment, even Jian Chen was surprised. 3.5 million Azure origin points was already his limit. This new result had already surpassed the previous years. He had thought that he would be number 1, but he was second. First, who exactly is it? No matter how many people tried to break their heads, no one in the younger generation of the Azure region could suppress Jian Chen. On the screen, the light slowly dissipated. At the top of the list, 2 golden words slowly appeared. First place, Xian Yi, 21.3 million points. Xian Yi. Who is Xian Yi? Countless people were filled with question marks. It was not long after Xian Yi entered the Azure ranking, so not many people knew him. This Xian Yi, I know that not long ago, he was ranked 961st on the Azure ranking. He was number 1. How is he able to suppress Jian Chen? Wait. 2.13 million. How could he be ranked first? Doesn't Jian Chen have 3.52 million? Before he could finish speaking, he discovered an extremely terrifying thing. No, not. It wasn't 2.13 million, but 21.3 million points. He nearly roared in shock. Chapter 73. Breaking the record. The first round ends, the second round begins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 73. Breaking the record. The first round ends, the second round begins. 21.3 million. Whether it was within the Azure realm or outside the Azure Emperor city, countless people were in a state of shock. Am I blind or is it an illusion? 21.3 million. This had already broken the record of the most Azure origin points gained during the Azure Region Grand Competition, right? Before that, I remember that the highest score was the one that was created 800 years ago by the ancient Nether sect. It's him. When Xian Yi's name appeared in the first place, they were in shock. Mu Chu Lian was also dumbfounded. On the other hand, Mu Qingqing had an unsurprised look on her face. Isn't it very shocking? When I first found out that he was that powerful, I was shocked too. Big sister, you don't know that even nascent soul demon beasts in the tiny world can't even handle a single sword strike directed at them. He's too strong. He's even stronger than the ancestor. There was also the Mingyue Shu. It wasn't that he was just first in this round, but he would probably be first in this year's Azure Region Grand Competition. Only he would win this competition. On the other side of the Azure realm, a man's body trembled. This person was Gu Hong, who had previously threatened Xian Yi. At this moment, he also looked at the name that was at the top of the list in disbelief. He was number 1. After a brief period of silence, the second round of the Azure Region Grand Competition had officially begun. Countless people who hadn't advanced were transported out of the Azure realm, leaving only 10,000 people who had advanced. The first round ends. The second round begins. The second round of the Azure Region Grand Competition is called Boom. Just as Azure Dragon was about to announce the start of the second round of the Azure Region Grand Competition and introduce the rules to everyone, a loud explosion rang out in the sky. Under the gazes of everyone present, a huge hole was torn open in the air of the Azure realm. Several figures slowly walked out from the crack. These people seemed to have come with ill intentions. They. Who are they? Countless shocked voices rang out as they looked at the sudden appearance of over 10 people. Oblivion King, what is the meaning of this? A dignified voice, mixed with anger, spread throughout the entire Azure realm and even the Azure Imperial City. Following that, a majestic figure appeared within the Azure realm. This person was the Azure King. He looked at the sudden appearance of those people with an ugly expression. There were more than 10 of them. Clearly, he knew the other party. Ha ha ha. There's not much meaning to this. I just heard that your Azure region is holding a grand competition and brought a few stinky kids from the Devil Oblivion Palace to join in on the fun, right? Among the 10+ people, the leader, the black-robed old man, laughed out loud. He was completely indifferent to the Azure King's anger. The Devil Oblivion Palace. What kind of power is the Devil Oblivion Palace? As soon as the black-clothed old man spoke, some were puzzled, while others were shocked. Of course, he did not know that the Devil Oblivion Palace belonged to the Crimson Devil region. He was shocked to find out the origins of the Devil Oblivion Palace. The Devil Oblivion Palace are the overlords of the Crimson Devil region. The Azure region has 10 great powers and the Azure Imperial. However, the Crimson Devil region only has one overlord. That's the Devil Oblivion Palace. The Devil Oblivion Palace is the absolute ruler of the Crimson Devil region. They have more than 10 King Realm experts. The power of their palace is comparable to the 10 great powers of the Azure region. Those who understood quickly explained to everyone. The Crimson Devil region. It's one of the 4 major regions near the Azure region. The power of their palace is comparable to the 10 great powers of the Azure region. It didn't matter if they didn't know. After everyone learned about the origins of the Devil Oblivion Palace, they were all shocked to the point that they couldn't believe it. The power of the Azure region's 10 great powers had long since been unshakable in the hearts of countless people in the Azure region. But now, they were told that the 10 great powers of the Azure region combined wouldn't be able to match up to the Devil Oblivion Palace. How could they not be shocked? The Devil Oblivion Palace is extremely ambitious. Over the years, it has been constantly searching for excuses to provoke a war. It has invaded 3 times and encroached upon many areas of our Azure region. The last time, 500 years ago, the 10 great powers fought together to repel the Devil Oblivion Palace, but their losses were extremely heavy. The King Realm of the Purple Sun clan fell out of the 10 great powers of the Azure region. The Mystic Sound faction was exterminated, and they vanished from the historical stage of the Azure region. Now, is the Devil Oblivion Palace about to return? At this moment, the hearts of the people in Azure Imperial City were in a state of panic. The appearance of them made everyone feel extremely uneasy. You are unwelcome. Oblivion King, you can take your people away. The Azure King didn't give him any face. However, the Oblivion King seemed to have not heard the Azure King's words, and he said without care. The 10 people behind me are the 10 most outstanding disciples of our Devil Oblivion Palace. As long as you can defeat the 10 of them, I will take them away. After he finished speaking, he didn't wait for the Azure King to reply. Behind the Oblivion King, one of the 10 Devil Oblivion Palace disciples walked out. My name is Mo Chen, 10th on the Devil ranking. Who dares to come up to fight? TLDMO means Devil. The Azure region had the Azure ranking, and the Crimson Devil domain naturally had a ranking system to record their genius. That was the Devil ranking. Mo Chen's provocation caused quite a few of the chosen in the Azure region to be enraged. The Azure region grand competition could no longer continue. Even if they had to proceed, they would have to settle the trouble before them. Immediately, one of the chosen of the Azure region walked out. Qing Yuan. Qing Yuan, 6th on the Azure ranking. Qing Yuan. Teach him a lesson. Let him know how powerful the Chosen are. This is the Azure region. It's not the Crimson Devil region. It's not a place where they can act presumptuously. A mere 10th. Ranked on the Devil rankings, there's no need for Qin Yuan to attack. Within Azure Imperial City, countless people were cheering for Qin Yuan. Some people felt that a mere 10th. Ranked Emo Chen would not need Qin Yuan to take action. I will take action. Remember, the one who defeated you is me, Qin Yuan. Qin Yuan was an early second-level nascent soul expert. His weapon was a spear, and he was a spear Dao expert. He had reached an extremely deep level in understanding the embryonic form of the spear intent. Although he was only at the early second stage of the nascent soul realm, his strength was comparable to that of a peak second stage nascent soul realm expert. Qin Yuan's words caused Emo Chen to smile. He felt that these people from the Azure region seemed to have underestimated him. The reason for underestimating him seemed to be because he was ranked 10th on the Devil rankings, while his opponent was ranked 6th on the Azure rankings. Defeat me. Are you going to defeat me with your mouth? Boom. As soon as Emo Chen finished speaking, Qin Yuan took action. The moment he attacked, he would definitely kill. Divine Breaking Spear. Spiritual energy was gathered on the spear in his hand, and it was ruthlessly thrown towards Emo Chen. The Divine Breaking Spear. That is the Blue Wind Sect's ultimate technique. A high earth rank technique. It's the most powerful martial arts technique. It looks like Qin Yuan is planning to use all his might against his opponent. The spear shot towards Emo Chen with thunderous force. In the face of this powerful attack, Emo Chen let out a cold laugh. His arms shook, and thread-like black spiritual energy seeped out of his body and wrapped itself around his arms. Emo Chen did not have a weapon. His fists were his weapon. One punch. Boom. Pooh. Under the gazes of countless people, the spear that Qin Yuan had thrown was sent flying. Qin Yuan himself had also suffered a backlash from that extremely powerful force. He coughed up blood and flew backward. Jing. Dead silence. One strike. One strike. Qin Yuan was defeated. This caused the countless people of the Azure region to find it hard to accept. Qin Yuan was not a nameless person. He was the 6th. Ranked genius on the Azure ranking, second only to the top 5. Did he lose? Everyone felt their scalps go numb as they looked at Emo Chen. The 6th ranker on the Azure rankings was instantly defeated by the 10th ranker on the Devil rankings. At that moment, the wild words that people had spoken earlier had caused them to drastically pale. His strength, he is not weaker than me. At this moment, even Duan Chongkong, the 3rd on the Azure ranking, felt his heart sink. Defeating Qin Yuan with a single punch was enough to make it into the top 3. However, on the Devil ranking, this Emo Chen was ranked 10th. Was the gap between the Azure region and the Crimson Devil region this great? The Azure King's expression was a little ugly. Although it was only the first battle, this first battle had a great impact on the morale of the Azure region. The 6th versus the 10th. He lost. Not only was he defeated. It was a crushing defeat. Chapter 74. Why aren't you saying anything now? Get out here. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 74. Why aren't you saying anything now? Get out here. The enormous city was now much quieter. This was even the 10th place on the Devil rankings. How strong was the first place on the Devil rankings? 6th on the Azure ranking. However, he can't even handle a single attack. He is truly trash. Emo Chen laughed out loud, mocking him without any politeness. As soon as these words were spoken, the expressions of the countless people in Azure Imperial City became even more difficult to see. However, he did not refute. Who had expected Qin Yuan would lose? Jian Chen. I've heard of you, number 1 on the Azure ranking. Come out and fight. Mo Chen's gaze was in Jian Chen's direction. Mo Chen wanted to challenge Jian Chen. The 10th on the Devil ranking, the 1st on the Azure ranking. After witnessing Mo Chen's strength, no one would think that he was too arrogant. To defeat Qin Yuan in one move was the strength of the top 3 on the Azure ranking. Whether he could defeat Jian Chen or not, he was definitely qualified to challenge him. Countless people from the Azure region looked at Jian Chen. First on the Azure ranking. He was the most monstrous genius that the Haotian sword sect had ever produced in over 1,000 years. If he were to lose too. When they thought of this, everyone's hearts were covered in a haze. At this moment, they couldn't help but feel somewhat pessimistic. Jian Chen, even if he won, so what? That Mo Chen was only the 10th on the Devil ranking, and there were still 9 people above him. Ancestor Shui, can Jian Chen defeat him? In the Azure realm, where the Mingyue Shu was located, the Snow King had appeared at some unknown time. It was not only the Snow King but also all the other King realm experts of the 10 great powers of the Azure region. The Devil Oblivion Palace had come with ill intentions, and it was probably not only to challenge the younger generation of the Azure region. The Snow King shook his head in response to Mingyue Shu's question. It's hard to say. However, don't worry. Even if Jian Chen is defeated, the Azure region won't be defeated. There were many pessimistic people, but the Snow King was not among them. With him around, the younger generation of the Azure region wouldn't be defeated, nor would they be lost. That's right. Mingyue Shu seemed to have thought of something as well. A smile appeared on her pretty face. On the other hand, the Moon King was somewhat puzzled. What do you mean? In her opinion, Jian Chen was undoubtedly the number 1 genius among the younger of the Azure region. If he lost, wouldn't that mean that the younger generation of the Azure region would also lose? You'll know later. The Snow King said lightly. Buzz. Jian Chen naturally had no reason to back down after being called out by someone. The moment his sword had been drawn, he appeared before Mo Chen. The number 1 genius of the Azure region, let me see if you, the so-called number 1 person of the younger generation, are worthy of the name. As their fists collided, an even more terrifying wave of spiritual power surged out from Mo Chen's body. What a terrifying energy ripple. This Mo Chen was hiding his strength. He is too terrifying. He is only ranked 10th on the Devil rankings. He is so powerful, no. He's more powerful than me. Are there still 9 of them in the Devil Oblivion Palace? The countless people in the Azure region felt despair. Was this Mo Chen really going to break through the younger generation of his Azure region by himself? Jian Chen, you must win. You are the last hope of our Azure region. At this moment, the countless people of the Azure region had no choice but to place their hopes on Jian Chen. They hoped that he could use his strength to crush his opponent. Although the possibility of this was negligible, it was more or less a common thought. Jian Chen also moved. One person was unarmed, using his fist as a weapon. One of them wielded a long sword, with sword chi sweeping out. Sword claws mountain and river. The sword struck out from between his brows. The vast sword chi transformed into a wave and slashed towards Mo Chen. Crimson Devil Fist. A punch tore through the air and scattered the sword waves. The next punch appeared before Jian Chen. Heh! With a cold laugh, the fist that was wrapped in devilish chi smashed down towards Jian Chen's face. A muffled sound echoed out, however, it did not come from Jian Chen, but Mo Chen. On his chest, there was a horrifyingly bloody scar. The heavens and the earth were filled with cheers. Mo Chen retreated. He was struck back by Jian Chen. Sword Spirit Body, the embryonic form of sword intent. This is Jian Chen, the number 1 genius of our younger generation. Countless people cheered for him. At this moment, they had even forgotten that Mo Chen was only ranked 10th in the Devil Oblivion Palace, and there were even more terrifying people above him. Even Chin'er is no match for him. In mid-air, the third swordmaster mused. Jian Chen, we're going to lose. The Azure King, Snow King, and the others sighed. As the saying goes, the amateur is watching the show, while the expert is watching the acting. In the eyes of everyone, Jian Chen's sword strike had defeated Mo Chen, gaining the upper hand. However, those existences at the King realm could see it. Yes, Mo Chen had been heavily injured by Jian Chen's sword strike. However, Jian Chen's injuries were even worse than Mo Chen's. However, it was only an internal injury that ordinary people could not see. Under Mo Chen's terrifying attack, Jian Chen's current condition was extremely bad. Not bad, but you've lost. Mo Chen stood with his hands behind his back, looking at Jian Chen not far away as if he was the winner. This appearance caused quite a few people in the Azure Imperial City to be extremely puzzled. What did Mo Chen mean? Wasn't he struck back by Jian Chen? Why did he act like a winner and say, Jian Chen was defeated? I didn't lose. Mo Chen. Jian Chen's voice was slightly cold. He wanted to rush out, but his injuries were not allowed. With just one step, he felt a sweet taste in his throat, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. Chin'er, come back. In midair, the third swordmaster sighed. Mo Chen's power was beyond everyone's imagination. Of course, he was also one of them. Even though he had the sword spirit body and the embryonic form of sword intent, he was defeated. What was even more terrifying was that Mo Chen was at the peak of the 4th level of the nascent soul realm like Jian Chen. Jian Chen had always been the number one person amongst those of the same cultivation level. Many experts of the older generation were far inferior to Jian Chen at the same level. In the minds of countless people, Jian Chen was of the same level as those old experts. Now, the unrivaled him finally had met an even more unrivaled person. Mo Chen. What's going on? Jian Chen. He vomited blood. Even Jian Chen, he was also defeated. Countless people cried out in alarm and fell silent. Those who thought of Jian Chen turning the tide by himself were disillusioned. His ideals were great, but reality was cruel. Jian Chen was defeated. Jian Chen, known as the number one genius in the Azure region, was defeated by the 10th ranked Mo Chen. He. The Azure region is truly disappointing. Even junior brother Mo Chen was able to sweep them away. He wasn't very strong. I had thought that I would be able to move my muscles and bones. In mid-air, behind Oblivion King, a beautiful, graceful black robed woman laughed softly. Indeed, it's quite disappointing. A cold and handsome young man in black said the same thing. This person was called Mo Tian, number one on the devil ranking. The Oblivion King laughed and looked at the Azure King and the others with interest as he said. It seems that your Azure region has lost. The words of the Oblivion King were difficult to accept, but it was the truth. Jian Chen was defeated. The Azure region was also defeated. No, the Azure region has yet to lose. All of a sudden, a voice spread throughout the entire Azure realm, the entire Azure Imperial City. The one who spoke was the Snow King. At that moment, everyone looked at her. They did not know what she meant. Even Jian Chen, who was number one on the Azure ranking, had lost. She said that the Azure region had not lost. The Snow King's gaze swept to a white-robed young man, Xian Yi. Xian Yi, I can take action, but I'll take the reward of the Azure region grand competition. Before Snow King could finish his words, Xian Yi spoke. He could take action, but he would not take action for free. If we can defeat Mo Chen, the Azure region grand competition will be the first place for you. The rewards will be the same. The Snow King said. Good. Xian Yi smiled. In reality, even if the Snow King did not agree, he would still take action. That was because just now, he had received a new branch mission. The mission's content was to let him, to fight, and destroy the Devil Oblivion Palace. As for the reward, it was to increase cultivation by 1 level, as well as the 3rd level of sword intent. With one step, Xian Yi appeared in midair. Boom! Without another word, the pressure of a peak 7th level nascent soul expert was released. Buzz, his sword was unsheathed, and boundless sword intent pierced through the sky. Don't come at me in 1s or 2s. It's too troublesome. All of you come on and see if you can block my sword strike. Hiss. Xian Yi's words were simply outrageous. All of come on. Let's see if you can block my sword strike. The faces of the 9 people behind Mo Chen and Mo Tian were extremely hard to see. But no one dared to speak. That was because they were all shocked by Xian Yi's terrifying energy fluctuations. The high levels of nascent soul. He's at least at the 7th level of the nascent soul realm. And sword intent. At this moment, not only did Mo Chen, the black-robed woman, and Mo Tian not step up, all of them were still. The strength Xian Yi displayed was no longer something they could contend against. There was such a freak in the Azure region. Sword intent. He comprehended sword intent. At this moment, even an existence like the Azure King was greatly shocked by the strength Xian Yi had displayed. Especially the Moon King. Now, she finally understood what Snow King meant by saying, even if Jian Chen is defeated, the Azure region will not be defeated. With such a pervert around, it would be strange for the Azure region to be defeated. Seeing that no one dared to step up, Xian Yi's gaze swept towards the enchanting black-robed woman who had originally spoken. Didn't you say you want to move your muscles and bones? Why aren't you saying anything now? Get out here. His gaze shifted to the black-clothed youth, Mo Tian, who was the number 1 on the devil ranking. And you? Didn't you say that my Azure region has disappointed you? Get out here too. Mo Chen, one trash at a time. If you weren't trash, would you dare take a step forward? Xian Yi's words were very unpleasant to hear. It wasn't hard to see the people that he had called out all glare at him, but no one dared to step up. Chapter 75. You'll accept me as a disciple. Are you worthy? You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 75. You'll accept me as a disciple. Are you worthy? It was because they knew that when they would come forward, they would definitely be defeated. There was even a chance of death. Xian Yi's words spread throughout the Azure realm and the entire Azure Imperial City. The hearts of countless people who had seen this scene trembled, their blood boiling. No one dared to stand up to Mo Chen, who had previously looked down on the Azure region's people, and said they were trash. At that moment, everyone felt an indescribable joy in their hearts. Wasn't he quite arrogant earlier? Why was he mute now? We won no injustice. Wang Quan and Si Ming glanced at each other. Faced with such an existence, they were truly defeated. Gu Hong's face was pale. Fear filled his heart. Thinking back to when he had threatened Xian Yi earlier, it seemed to be quite laughable. No wonder Xian Yi did not care about his threat, he was too lazy to pay attention to him. That was not because he was afraid, but rather because of disdain. The two sides were no longer on the same level. The so-called threat was a joke. Would a strong person fear the threat of a weak person? The woman who had previously warned Xian Yi in the moon-lying pavilion now had a flushed face. She was so ashamed that she wanted to find an underground hole to drill into. She vaguely remembered that at that time, she said to Xian Yi, "My young master and you are not from the same world," she remembered it very clearly. At that time, Xian Yi had even repeated these words. At that time, she had thought that Xian Yi knew what was going on, but now, did it look like this? From the looks of it, he and his young master were indeed not from the same world. At different times, the meaning of the same words would be completely different. This talent is one of the best in the southern continent. I'll ask you, I'm willing to let you join our Devil Oblivion Palace and become my disciple. After a long silence, Oblivion King spoke. The moment he spoke, he enraged the several Azure Region Kings present. Before Xian Yi could say anything, the Azure King said in a low voice, Oblivion King, you've gone overboard. Who would have thought that the Oblivion King would shake his head and smile? He didn't even bother looking at Azure King and continued to stare at Xian Yi. I've gone overboard. No, I'm giving him a chance to live. The words of the Oblivion King caused everyone present to feel their hearts tighten. You'll accept me as your disciple. Xian Yi slowly stood up and stared at the Oblivion King. What do you think? If you want to, you only need to nod. I can ignore the past and accept you as my personal disciple. When he saw Xian Yi stand up, the Oblivion King thought that he was tempted, and he spoke again. However, Xian Yi's next words caused the Oblivion King's expression to change wildly, and it was extremely difficult to look at. Are you worthy? Are you worthy? Facing a King Realm expert, Xian Yi was still too arrogant. This was too bold. Everyone was sweating for Xian Yi. Very good. If that's the case, then die. The Oblivion King's expression was extremely gloomy. He slapped out with his palm, and the vast spiritual yuan instantly transformed into an enormous palm that broke through the clouds and crushed towards Xian Yi. Oblivion King, you're presumptuous. How could the Azure Region Kings present allow the Oblivion King to kill Xian Yi in front of them? The Azure King raised his hand and went up to welcome him. But just as the Azure King was about to take action to meet the Oblivion King's palm, a spatial crack suddenly tore open in front of him. A figure shrouded in black mist appeared in an instant. Without a doubt, the black shadow that had suddenly appeared was also a king. Qin Wang, your opponent is me. The black shadow's voice was somewhat hoarse. Scarlet King. Qin Wang recognized the black shadow in front of him. The Scarlet King was one of the Devil Oblivion Palace's kings, and he was even more powerful than the Oblivion King. After the Scarlet King appeared, he punched the Azure King. Boom! The Azure King's body retreated. As he retreated, a spatial crack appeared behind him. The Azure King was blasted into it. At the same time, the Scarlet King's body moved and entered the crack. Boom! Seeing that the Oblivion King's palm was getting closer and closer to Xian Yi, the third Swordmaster, Snow King, Moon King, and several other Azure Region Kings moved at the same time. But a familiar scene appeared again. Several spatial rifts were forcefully broken through, and several black shadows emerged from within, blocking the third Swordmaster, Snow King, and the other Azure Region Kings. Demon Lord. King Huai. Heaven-Splitting King. Charm Demon King. Prince Su. The sudden appearance of these people was no stranger to the third Swordmaster and the Azure Region Kings. These people were all King Realm experts from the Devil Oblivion Palace. Among them, the Devil Master and King Huai were mid-stage origin kings on the same level as the third Swordmaster. Just like the Scarlet King, the three of them directly dragged the third Swordmaster, Snow King, Moon King, and the others into the spatial rift. Fortunately, before the Snow King was dragged into the spatial crack, she used all her strength to strike out, and she blocked the Oblivion King's fatal palm strike that was aimed at Xian Yi. At this moment, in the vast Azure Realm, only the Oblivion King was left. This scene caused everyone's hearts to sink. Although there were still quite a few half-step King Realm experts like Azure King, but the opponent was of the King Realm. The difference between the King Realm and the half-step King Realm was the difference between heaven and earth. No matter how many half-step King Realm experts there were, they couldn't defeat a King Realm opponent. Although the Oblivion King was only an early stage origin king, even such an early stage origin king could sweep through everyone present. Chapter 76. Sword Domain Opened. King Realm War. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 76. Sword Domain Opened. King Realm War. Deathly silence facing the Oblivion King in midair. Everyone's hearts were shrouded in a haze. Everyone, follow me. The Blue King of the Huangfu clan and the Qian King of the Shen clan were already on their way here, so long as we were able to block the Oblivion King for a moment. Sai, the one who spoke, was Azure Dragon, one of the Vice City Lords of Azure Imperial City. He tried to persuade the several half-step kings present to take action at the same time to stall the Oblivion King. However, before he could finish speaking, he sighed heavily. Even he did not believe his words. A few half-step kings wanted to stall the Oblivion King. Was that even possible? Not to mention even a few dozen half-step King Realm experts were nothing more than dogs in the face of a real King Realm expert. Lord Song and King Qian. Hee. At this moment, they'd probably be unable to protect themselves, yet they're still here to save you. The Oblivion King smiled mischievously as he looked down at Xian Yi with a slightly teasing gaze. Now, let me see who can protect you. Brat, do you regret it? Now, you will regret that you didn't agree to my terms. Hee, little brother was really vicious just now. He scared Big Sister. Didn't you ask Big Sister to step up? Big Sister has already come out. What can you do to me? Originally, under Xian Yi's might, the enchanting woman, who was so scared that she didn't dare step up, however, when she saw the Oblivion King control the situation, she immediately jumped into the matter. Buzz! A streak of sword light flashed out from Xian Yi in an instant, shooting towards the enchanting woman. The vast sword intent instantly locked onto her. In front of this sovereign, you dare to injure my Devil Oblivion Palace disciples. Who gave you the courage? Of course, the Oblivion King couldn't let Xian Yi succeed. With a single palm strike, a terrifying spiritual yuan exploded out and smashed Xian Yi's sword light into nothingness. No matter the situation, the Oblivion King was a King Realm existence. It was truly unrealistic to want to kill that enchanting woman in front of him. Hee, it's so scary. It scared my little heart to the point of stopping. Seeing Xian Yi wanting to kill her, yet unable to do so, made the enchanting woman feel even more proud. Since that's the case, then I can only kill you first. Xian Yi gave up on the plan to kill the enchanting woman first. Instead, he cast his gaze towards the Oblivion King. Xian Yi held a long sword in his hand and stood in midair. 3 words slowly came out of his mouth. Void Sword Domain. Buzz. As Xian Yi's voice fell, a black energy field began to spread out with Xian Yi at its center. What is this? Countless people were filled with doubts as they looked at the black-colored domain that had spread so wildly and enveloped them. They were only at the soul condensation and the nascent soul realms. They didn't even know much about the King Realm, let alone any about domains. The domains were too far away for them. However, no one could recognize this. Only one person could recognize though. That person was the Oblivion King. As a king, it was impossible for him to not know of domains. It was because he knew that he felt disbelief and that his voice was trembling. This is a domain. His voice was filled with shock. There was no mistake. This was a domain. What is he looking at? A peak 7th level nascent soul practitioner had comprehended a domain. Something that many kings were unable to comprehend. How could this be possible? It was simply unheard of. Even the Oblivion King, as a King Realm expert, was slightly moved. At the age of 20.4 or 5, this youth was at the peak of the 7th level of the nascent soul realm. He could accept the nascent soul realm youth's comprehension of sword intent. However, he was unable to accept the nascent soul realm youth's comprehension of domain power. Wind Lightning Sword. The moment his domain opened, Xian Yi slashed out. The Wind Lightning Sword tore through the void and instantly slashed towards the Oblivion King. With the support of the Void Sword domain, the Wind Lightning Sword that Xian Yi had slashed out not only had its speed increased greatly, but its power and lethality had also improved greatly. When he hadn't used the Void Sword domain, even if Xian Yi had used the peak of the second level of sword intent, he was unable to threaten the Oblivion King. However, after using the Void Sword domain, Xian Yi's attack was already enough to threaten the King Realm Expert. The Oblivion King naturally realized this as well, so he didn't dare take this strike head-on. In a display of the explosive speed of a King Realm cultivator, his body appeared several dozen li away. The Oblivion King retreated. The scene of the Oblivion King's retreat was seared into the eyes of countless people. Everyone who witnessed this scene was shocked. A King Realm expert was forced to retreat by a 7th level nascent soul expert. This Xian Yi is a bit strange. Mo Tian stared at Xian Yi. With the strength of the Oblivion King, if it wasn't for the fact that the sword strike was sufficient to threaten him, he wouldn't have retreated. The Oblivion King's retreat meant that sword strike. It was enough to threaten him. However, how could this be possible? That was a King Realm expert. A King Realm expert was forced back by a mere 7th level nascent soul realm expert. No one would believe it, right? However, no matter how much they chose to believe, the truth was right in front of them, and they couldn't deny it. So you'll leave as well? Xian Yi sneered. He was very satisfied with his sword strike. This was the first time he had used his domain. To be honest, he was a little scared by the terrifying amplification. In the Void Sword domain, his speed and attack power had increased by countless times. Kid, you should stop being arrogant. So what if the Oblivion King was furious? Even Xian Yi had managed to control his domain. He was only at the 7th level of the nascent soul realm. As for him, he was at the King realm. Spiritual energy surged madly. The Oblivion King was going to get serious. Chapter 77. The Death of a King Realm Expert. The Might of the Void Sword Domain. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 77. The Death of a King Realm Expert. The Might of the Void Sword Domain. The spiritual energy crazily wreaked havoc in this space, causing countless people to suffocate. Seeing that person facing the Oblivion King was Xian Yi, Azure Dragon, and many other half-step kings in the Azure region wanted to help him, but a battle of this level wasn't something they could participate in. Just a single wave of shockwaves would be enough to wipe them out. In front of a true King Realm expert, a half-step King Realm expert could not withstand a single blow. Both sides were completely different. All ants below the King Realm were not worth mentioning. The aura of the Oblivion King had already reached its peak. This battle must be resolved quickly. Xian Yi thought for a moment. With the support of the Void Sword domain, even though he had temporarily gained the strength to threaten a King Realm expert, this type of state wouldn't last for long. The Void Sword domain was extremely powerful. This was without a doubt. However, its spiritual power consumption was also extremely great. Xian Yi could sense that after activating the Void Sword domain, the spiritual power in his body had been consumed several times faster than before. If he couldn't resolve the battles in a short period of time, once his spiritual power was exhausted and the Void Sword domain dispersed, then what awaited him would be death. Sword Control Art. With that thought, Xian Yi directly used his most powerful martial arts, the Sword Control Art. Boom! In the air, a black sword of spiritual power shot out. It shot towards the Oblivion King. With the support of the Void Sword domain, the power of this sword had increased countless times. However, the Oblivion King laughed disdainfully in the face of this attack. He extended his hand and suddenly grasped the direction of the sword. Boom! The terrifying twisting force instantly tore the spiritual sword into countless pieces. Little bug, before his voice had even traveled, the area around the Oblivion King suddenly contracted. At the same time, tens of thousands of tiny black dot-colored spiritual energy swords had already formed circles that surrounded him. They were densely packed. This made one tremble in fear. A small skill. Hee. It wasn't too late to say anything rash after receiving my attack. As soon as he finished speaking, Xian Yi's mind moved. Tens of thousands of dark-black spiritual energy swords formed from the support of the void. The swords of the void sword domain were like meteors as they crazily smashed towards the Oblivion King. From afar, it was extremely spectacular. At this moment, the Oblivion King, who was at the center of the 10,000 swords bombardment, was in a state of chaos. He was constantly defending against the incoming swords. Under the amplification of the void sword domain, every single sword had terrifying might. They were more than enough to injure the Oblivion King. Crimson Devil Fist. Devil Blast. All kinds of martial arts were endlessly used, but unfortunately, the number of spirit energy swords was too enormous. Very quickly, they drowned the Oblivion King's figure. Finally. It was unknown how long passed. The tens of thousands of spiritual energy swords attacks were nearing the end. As for the Oblivion King, he gradually appeared. Oblivion King. Mo Tian and the others' eyes widened as they stared blankly at the human figure in the air, whose flesh was mutilated. This person was the Oblivion King. At this moment, not only was he in a sorry state, but the aura surrounding his body was also extremely dispirited. The Oblivion King. He was defeated. As a King Realm expert, Oblivion King had lost. Moreover, it wasn't a defeat to the other King Realms, but rather, he was defeated by a 7th-level nascent soul expert. If he hadn't personally witnessed it, who would have believed it? That was a King Realm expert. He wasn't a half-step King Realm expert. The shock in everyone's hearts was beyond words. The Void Sword domain is truly terrifying. At that moment, even Xian Yi himself was startled by the terrifying might of the Void Sword domain. Xian Yi had already overestimated the Void Sword region as much as he could, but he didn't expect that it would still underestimate its power. One had to know that he had already lost to the Oblivion King without even using the giant pylon sword. He had originally thought that he would first use the 10,000 swords to consume the Oblivion King, find an opportunity or flaw, and then use the giant pylon sword to cut him down. But now, he seemed to have been overthinking. A mere Oblivion King didn't seem to need him to use the giant pylon sword. 10,000 swords were more than enough. Someone at the nascent soul realm defeated a King Realm expert, shattering the beliefs of those of the past and the present. Everyone knew how powerful the King Realm was. The peak nascent soul realm and the half-step King Realm was completely different from the King Realm. No matter how powerful nascent soul experts and half-step kings were, they wouldn't be able to defeat them. This was the general consensus. However, today, Xian Yi used his strength to tell the world that battles between nascent soul realm experts and the King Realm experts would not always be one-sided. It was not impossible to defeat a king. Even though no one had done it in history, it did not mean that it could not be done. Now, Xian Yi had done it. It broke everyone's understanding. Slash. The vast sword radiance slashed towards Oblivion King with the support of the peak of the 2nd level of sword intent and the void sword domain. Soon, his figure was completely drowned by the light. The Oblivion King was dead. A King Realm expert had perished. Seeing that white-robed figure midair, everyone sighed endlessly. After killing the Oblivion King, Xian Yi's gaze swept over them, and in the end, he fixed his gaze on the pale-faced Mo Tian and the others. More precisely, it was fixed on the enchanting woman. Earlier, With the support of the Oblivion King, this woman decided to step up against him. After standing up, she threatened Xian Yi. Now that the Oblivion King had been cut down by him, Xian Yi wanted to see if she could still step up. "I'm here to kill you." Xian Yi's words were like the sound of hell. Chapter 78. I'm here to kill you. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 78. I'm here to kill you. I'm here to kill you. One sentence made the enchanting woman feel as if she had fallen into an icy pit. Mo Tian, Mo Chen, and the others' faces had twisted into an extremely ugly expression. Xian Yi wouldn't let that enchanting woman off, nor would he let any of the others off. As for their chances of escaping. Could they escape? To flee in front of an expert that could kill a king. This joke was not funny at all. After Xian Yi's body had recovered, he instantly sent out several spiritual energy swords, killing all the Demon Oblivion Palace disciples, including the enchanting woman. The shock in everyone's hearts did not dissipate even after a long time as they looked at the young man who looked like a sword immortal. Xian Yi's strength had exceeded everyone's expectations, time and time again, from one person to the other. Boom! However, before everyone could begin to cheer, a spatial crack was ripped open in midair. A sorry figure was also blasted flying from within. Everyone's hearts instantly chilled. Third Sword Master. At this moment, countless people were moved. The figure that had been sent flying out of the spatial rift was none other than the Third Sword Master of the Heavenly Sword Sect. After the Third Sword Master, another person emerged from the spatial rift. This person was none other than the Demon Lord, the palace head of the Devil Oblivion Palace. Third Sword Master, you've lost. It's over. The Third Sword Master, one of the only mid-stage origin kings in the Azure region, was defeated. It was obvious how much he had affected the battlefield. Ice Feather, it's your turn to appear. He couldn't turn the situation around by himself. Although Xian Yi's strength was currently at the King Realm, he was only able to battle against a low-level Origin King Realm expert. As for a mid-stage Origin King like the Demon Lord, even if he used the giant pylon sword, he would not have the slightest chance of winning. Unless Xian Yi had broken through to the peak of the 9th level of the nascent Soul Realm, or if he had comprehended the Flame Fiend domain, he would not be able to fight a mid-stage Origin King without the combination of two domains. As soon as Xian Yi finished speaking, a beautiful figure silently appeared beside him. It was Ice Feather. After appearing, Ice Feather didn't waste any words. She suddenly slapped her palm towards the sky and pulled it. This scene seemed familiar. Who? Several muffled sounds rang out in succession. The 10 or so kings that had been in their respective spatial battles were ripped apart by a powerful tearing force. At this moment, no matter whether it was the King Realm experts of the Azure region or the King Realm experts of the Devil Oblivion Palace, their faces were filled with confusion. This was especially true for Devil Oblivion Palace. Just now, as he was about to defeat the Dream King, he was suddenly pulled out of the spatial battlefield by a terrifying force and returned to the Azure realm. What happened? Why did we suddenly, at that moment, not to mention the various kings of the Devil Oblivion Palace, even the kings of the Azure region were dumbfounded. Kill who? The cold words slowly came out of Ice Feather's mouth. It was at this moment that everyone noticed the appearance of a beautiful woman beside Xian Yi. That is Xian Yi's master. The Snow King recognized Ice Feather with a single glance. She still remembered this Heavenly King level expert. After all, she had almost been accidentally killed at the time. Snow King, do you know this person? The feeling she's giving me. It's very strange. I can't see through her. The Moon King questioned. It would be strange if you could see through her. What do you mean? That person is Xian Yi's master. Oh. Yes. She's a heavenly king. At first, when she heard that the woman was Xian Yi's master, the Moon King didn't react much. However, the Snow King's words caused her pupils to constrict. Heaven. She's a heavenly king. Snow King, are you kidding me? Even though she knew that the Snow King wouldn't joke with her like this, but, the Moon King still found it hard to believe that the woman beside Xian Yi was a heavenly king. Heavenly kings were invincible existences at the top of the pyramid. They were the most powerful figures in the entire southern continent. After Ice Feather spoke, the Demon Lord, King Huai, and the other kings of the Demon House also took notice of her. When he saw Ice Feather, the Demon Lord frowned. He couldn't see through this person. The Demon Lord frowned even deeper when he saw Xian momentarily. You're not dead. Where's the Oblivion King? The Demon Lord's gaze was fixed on Xian Yi. In his opinion, Xian Yi should have already died. However, not only was he alive and well, but the Oblivion King had also disappeared. The Oblivion King. I killed him. Just you. The Demon Lord laughed. A peak 7th level nascent soul expert had said that he had killed the Oblivion King. This was the funniest joke he had ever heard in his life. Xian Yi shrugged as he looked at the Demon Lord and said to Ice Feather beside him. You speak the most nonsense. Let's start with you. Ice Feather, kill him. Kill me. What a big mouth. Before he could finish, the Demon Lord felt a terrifying sense of death approaching him. A streak of light slashed out from the void in front of his eyes. The Demon Lord wanted to dodge, but no matter how much he struggled, he couldn't move an inch. At this moment, he seemed to be trapped by an extremely terrifying power. He couldn't move at all. He could only watch helplessly as the void sword slashed towards him. Under the shocked gazes of countless people, the Demon Lord's body split into two. The Demon Lord was dead. The third Swordmaster's eyes were filled with shock. His opponent was the Demon Lord. He could tell how strong the Demon Lord was. It was exactly because he was clear on the Demon Lord's strength that he felt shocked. He was as powerful as a Demon Lord, yet he couldn't defeat that white-robed woman's sword strike. What kind of strength was this? A human king? Or a heavenly king? Ignoring everyone's shock, Xian Yi pointed at another person. Him. The person he was referring to. It was the Locust King within the Devil Dragon Palace. Only King Realm experts who were second only to the Demon Lord were at the same level as the Demon Lord. They were both mid-stage origin kings. Without saying a word, Ice Feather slapped the Locust King. Boomed at him. This time, he was pointing at Prince Su. Boom! At this moment, Xian Yi's hand was like the sickle of death. Whoever he pointed at, who would die? This scene caused countless people present to be extremely shocked. In their eyes, the Supreme King Realm experts were like chickens and dogs at a slaughter. They died one after another, without the slightest resistance. Was this the King Realm experts they had heard of? Chapter 79. One Palm, One King Realm Expert. Kill towards Crimson Devil Region. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 79. One Palm, One King Realm Expert. Kill towards Crimson Devil Region. A moment later, only one of the 10 or so King Realm experts was left. Furthermore, this person was not far from death, because Xian Yi's finger had already pointed at him. No, an endless amount of fear enveloped the King Realm expert. The Demon Lord died, King Huai died, all of them were dead. All of them had come from the Devil Oblivion Palace. They were all dead. How did it end up like this? They were just a short distance away from being able to exterminate all of the King Realm experts in the Azure region. Suddenly, a woman appeared and crushed all of the advantages they had accumulated earlier, turning them into nothing. Now, the Azure region did not attack, yet they had almost all died. Before they arrived, they had made all preparations. Within the Azure region, they knew exactly which faction was at the King Realm and how powerful it was. As it turned out, the information that he'd received from their spies hadn't been wrong. However, if this mysterious woman hadn't appeared, at this moment, the 10 great powers of the Azure region would have probably all perished. But no if. This mysterious woman shouldn't be a member of the Azure region. An expert of this level couldn't exist in the Azure region. A single palm strike eliminated a King Realm expert, and even a mid-stage origin king like the Demon Lord and King Huai wouldn't be able to escape. This person's strength was at least that of a human king. She might have been a heavenly king. Experts of this level couldn't exist in the Azure region, not to mention the 10 or so regions in this continent. Existences of this level would normally only exist in the top regions. Boom! When the last one of them died, the huge rock that was weighing down on the hearts of countless people was finally released. The crisis in the Azure region was resolved. All of this was because of that fairy-like mysterious woman. If it wasn't for her, the Azure region would have been defeated. After the third Swordmaster was defeated, King Huai and the rest of the Azure region kings were also at an absolute disadvantage. If it wasn't for the sudden appearance of this mysterious woman, it would only be a matter of time before the Azure region's kings were defeated. The mission has not been completed. As expected, killing these 10 kings was not enough. A dozen or so Devil Oblivion Palace kings were killed, but the mission completion notification did not sound. If that's the case, then we'll head to the Crimson Devil region and uproot the Devil Oblivion Palace. Xian Yi asked Ice Feather in a low voice. Ice Feather, how long can you stay in this world? There was a time limit for Ice Feather to descend into this world. If he wanted her to stay in this world forever, he could only place his hopes on future mission rewards. About 2 hours. 2 hours. That's enough. Let's go to Crimson Devil region. To the Devil Oblivion Palace. Ice Feather directly broke through space and entered with Xian Yi. The speed of a heavenly king was enough for them to arrive at the Crimson Devil region and the Devil Oblivion Palace in an extremely short amount of time. The Devil Oblivion Palace there were no other leading powers in the Crimson Devil region other than the 10 or so kings of the Devil Oblivion Palace. No organization in the vast Crimson Devil region could compete against them. All the powers respected the Devil Oblivion Palace. There was no doubt that the Devil Oblivion Palace was an extremely powerful sect. They had more than 10 King Realm experts and were able to overpower the 10 great powers of the Azure region. A single faction, even the Haotian Sword sect, which was known as the #1 sect in the Azure region, was far from the same level. On this day, the Devil Oblivion Palace was especially lively. All the influential powers and people in the Crimson Devil region were invited over. There were many half-step King Realm experts and even a few King Realm experts. Why were we invited here? I heard the news that we're going to attack the Azure region. I'm afraid we're going to take the lead because I see that the Demon Lord and King Huai are not here. Amidst the crowd, there was a lively discussion. But at this moment, a crack suddenly appeared in the sky above the square. A black-clothed old man slowly walked out from within. Nether Fiend King. This person was no stranger to everyone. The Nether Fiend King, one of the vice-palace lords of the Devil Oblivion Palace, was one of the strongest experts in the Devil Oblivion Palace, with the exception of the Demon Lord and the Locust King. He had reached the peak of the early stage of the Origin King Realm and was only a step away from the mid-stage Origin King Realm. He was an extremely powerful king. This time, he didn't participate in the Demon Lord and the others' assault on the Azure region's 10 great powers. Instead, he was overseeing the Devil Oblivion Palace. Apart from that, he had another mission. It was to gather the Crimson Devil region's forces to attack the Azure region. As for these powers, they were very willing to do so. The Azure region was a big cake. The Devil Oblivion Palace couldn't swallow it all. At this moment, they would need the help of the various factions in the Crimson Devil region. The Devil Oblivion Palace took the best things, while they received whatever was left over. I'm sure many people have already guessed the reason I've called everyone here. That's right. We've gathered all of you here this time to discuss how to attack the Azure region and how to divide the benefits in the future. The Demon Lord and King Huai have already gone to the Azure region, and if nothing unexpected happens, the King Realm experts of the 10 great powers of the Azure region will have already died. The peak experts of the Azure region, the King Realm experts, will be handed over to the Devil Oblivion Palace. The rest will be handed over to everyone present. As for the remuneration, boom. However, before the Nether Fiend King could finish his words, a loud explosion sounded from above the sky. A man and a woman slowly walked out from a spatial crack. It was none other than Bing Yu and Xian. The sudden change shocked many powers below. The Nether Fiend King had been interrupted, had an ugly expression on his face. Who are you? How dare you act so presumptuously in my Devil Oblivion Palace? The Nether Fiend King roared and glared at the two people in the sky. Without a doubt, at least one of the two was at the King Realm. But so what? What King Realm expert could provoke the Oblivion Demon Palace? How could mere one or two kings be able to provoke the might of the Devil Oblivion Palace? Several streams of light shot out from the Devil Oblivion Palace. Each stream of light was a King Realm expert. Even if the Demon Lord, the Locust King, and the other 10 kings were dispatched, there were still 3 or 4 of them in the Devil Oblivion Palace. This was the foundation of the Devil Oblivion Palace. The 2 of them had no idea where they had obtained news that the Demon Lord, King Huai, and the other 10 or so kings were not at the Demon Imperial Palace, so they had decided to come to find trouble with the Demon Imperial Palace. However, it seemed they had underestimated the Devil Oblivion Palace's reserves. Many of the leaders of the various powers were gloating. The 2 of them dared to cause trouble for the Devil Oblivion Palace. Today, they would probably be unable to leave this place alive. Chapter 80. There was no need to wait. They are all already dead. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 80. There was no need to wait. They are all already dead. Swoosh. 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 3 streaks of light shot out from the sky above the Devil Oblivion Palace. Each one of them was imposing, surrounded by surging spiritual energy fluctuations. Without a doubt, these were 3 King Realm experts. Heavenly Handle King. Earth Fiend King. Eem Devil King. With the 3 kings coming out together, plus the Nether Fiend King, there were 4 King Realm experts. On the square, someone raised his head. Every time a streak of light flew out, he would say something. Finally, he turned his gaze to Xian Yi in Ice Feather, who had an indifferent expression. A look of amusement appeared in his eyes. Who do you think these 2 are? They're both foolish. That woman can't be seen through. She must be a king. However, what is a King Realm expert to the Devil Oblivion Palace? They're finished. A King Realm expert might be considered a formidable expert in other places, but to the Devil Oblivion Palace, they weren't much. One had to know that the Devil Oblivion Palace was the overlord of the Crimson Devil region. It was the strongest power in the Crimson Devil region. They were the number 1 power in the entire Crimson Devil region. Even though more than 10 of the 16 King Realm experts that made up their power had left to the Azure region, they wanted to treat the Devil Oblivion Palace as easy pickings. These 2 had probably made a mistake. TSK. What a pity. As soon as these words were spoken, they caused a burst of laughter. This was the Crimson Devil region, and it was tainted with devilish chi. Which one was good? Now that they knew that the 2 of them were unable to gain any benefits, some people's expressions flickered as they began to think of something else. The scarlet-haired devil couldn't help but look at the exquisite figure of Ice Feather, unable to believe that she was real. He couldn't stop spinning on Ice Feather's pretty face. Hey! Little lady, why are you courting death? Why don't you obediently surrender and take me as your master? This way, I, the Scarlet-Haired Devil, might be able to use a bit of my influence and save your life in front of the palace. Once these words were spoken, Xian Yi turned his head and looked at this demon who called himself Scarlet-Haired Devil in astonishment. His aura was somewhat obscure, and he was slightly stronger than the nascent soul realm, but he was weaker than a king realm expert. He was a half-step king realm expert. The Crimson Devil region has deep foundations. Xian Yi's gaze slowly turned over to the square of Devil Oblivion Palace. With his current strength, he was naturally able to sense that there were quite a few half-step king realm people on the square. There were also a few people at the king realm. However, this guy thought that he would be in an undefeated position and even tease Ice Feather. This person was tired of living. Quickly surrender. Where do you think this place is? Just the two of you want to be impudent. The Scarlet-Haired Devil laughed bitterly. Holding his arm, his eyes were unrestrained. Kill me if you have the ability. Once these words were spoken, everyone burst into laughter. It was clear that the two people who had broken through the void and arrived at the Devil Oblivion Palace were enemies rather than friends. That was why the Devil Oblivion Palace's King Realm experts had flown out. Since the Devil Oblivion Palace's King Realm experts had already appeared, they couldn't roam around as they pleased in the territory of the Devil Oblivion Palace. Even if the opponent was a king. Otherwise, it would be a slap to the face of Devil Oblivion Palace. No one in Crimson Devil region dared to do this. Since that was the case, not only would they be fine when they molested the King Realm experts they had previously respected, they might even receive the admiration and preferential treatment of the Demon Oblivion Palace. Perhaps with this impression, they might be able to gain greater rewards after attacking the Azure region. Interest was the most exciting thing. Not to mention a cake as big as the Azure region. Don't be rude. Xian Yi shook his head slightly. He looked at the crimson-haired demon like he was looking at a dead person. Boom! The Void Sword domain spread out with Xian Yi as the center. The surging sword chi wreaked havoc in the surrounding areas. With a whistling sword strike, it crushed this person into meat paste. Everyone beside the Scarlet-Haired Devil was shocked. They hurriedly jumped away and looked at Xian Yi with shock in their eyes. The person on the other side was only a nascent soul brat. He should have no way of stacking up against a half-step King Realm expert. How could he have killed the Scarlet-Haired Devil with a single sword strike? Moreover, why didn't the Devil Oblivion Palace stop him? How daring! The Nether Fiend King angrily rebuked. His eyes were dark, and the spiritual energy around his body condensed into frost, covering the void. How dare you kill someone in front of my Demon Oblivion Palace? You're not putting my Demon Oblivion Palace in your eyes. The Nether Fiend King's voice was icy cold as he glared at Xian Yi. However, his awareness was carefully focused on Ice Feather. When Xian Yi attacked earlier, he had wanted to stop Xian Yi but he felt a sense of danger before he could make a move. He had a premonition that if he stopped this sword strike, he would be injured. At the same time, his mind was filled with shock, and a faint might pressed against him. This imposing aura was like an ocean, and it caused his vision to go completely blank. He didn't dare make any abrupt movements at all. When he recovered from his shock, the Scarlet-Haired Devil had already perished. Trash, he can't even withstand a single strike. You've lost face. The Nether Fiend King's expression was unsightly. He exchanged glances with the other three kings and saw the seriousness in their eyes. It was clear that this man and woman were not simple. As a nascent soul realm man, killing half-step kings was already stunning enough, but that woman would only be even stronger. Since he dared to tease such an expert, the Scarlet-Haired Devil could only die unjustly. I am of the Devil Oblivion Palace, what do you intend to do? After a moment of thought, the Nether Fiend King temporarily suppressed the killing intent in his heart. He took a step forward and clasped his fist, and asked. Right now, it was a great moment for him to attack the Azure region. He could not be stopped by anyone. Furthermore, the 10 or so King Realm experts of the Devil Oblivion Palace had gone to the Azure region. The 4 of them that they had left behind, as the Devil Oblivion Palace's foundation, could not be lost. Otherwise, it would normally take a short moment for a dozen or so kings to come out. Even if the opponent was a late-stage origin king, they would still have a chance against them. That woman was not easy to provoke, so he had to stall for time. As the Nether Fiend King called out, he sent out a signal in his heart. He wanted to send the matter out and summon the 10 King Realm experts from the outside of Devil Oblivion Palace to rush back. There wasn't much needed. Even if only half of them returned, it would be enough to make the person on the other side suffer. Otherwise, did they really think that the Oblivion Demon Palace was easy to bully? Are you waiting for the Demon Lord and the others to return? The corners of Xian Yi's mouth curled into a smile as he stared at the Nether Fiend King, his gaze deep. The Nether Fiend King had a gloomy expression on his face before. He couldn't wait to tear this brat apart, but now he was holding back his temper and acting like a snake. No devil had such a good temper, only a good city gate. The Nether Fiend King's heart sank. He exchanged glances with the other 3 kings but did not say anything. He had long since sent out the message after delaying the meeting. However, the Demon Lord had not responded at all. Coupled with the fact that Xian Yi's stance was too confident, it caused their hearts to become solemn, and they could vaguely sense a trace of detail. You don't have to wait. They're dead. Boom. Xian Yi's eyes were cold and he didn't want to waste any more time. As soon as he spoke, the entire Devil Oblivion Palace seemed to be enveloped by a layer of gloom. Everyone was in an uproar.